We all live in a very exciting time of technological change. Allow me to demonstrate with the music industry. By a show of hands, who here remembers the Walkman? Now, who here has listened to an MP3 before? So this all happened within our lifetime, and the same thing is happening in the camera industry. Effectively, compact cameras are becoming better and better, and professional cameras are becoming cheaper and more accessible. I hold that it's only a matter of time until you own a professional level camera. And thus, I would like to take this time to effectively talk about how to use camera settings and take effective photos. Specifically, I'm going to talk about the S setting, which can be found on the camera dial, the A setting, which can also be found on the camera dial, and I'll finish with a bit about Photoshop. So I'm going to start with the most important setting, S. So pretend you're taking a picture. You most likely hold the camera up, points at your target, click the button, and then the camera will take the picture in a fraction of a second. Now S, I want you to remember, stands for speed. This lets you control how fast the camera takes. Derek Dopinger's book, Creative Shutter Speed, lists the average fast camera speed as 1/250th of a second, so literally a fraction of a second, which is why most people probably have not given this much thought. Now S, you can set to very high levels, so perhaps 1/4000th of a second, and to very also low levels, so perhaps 3 full seconds. Now I devised a quick rhyme to help you remember what these settings do. Essentially, fast S for fast motion. So if you've ever taken a picture of someone running around, or with like very shaky hands, you most likely receive a lot of camera blur in your picture. All you have to do to eliminate this is to set a very high S setting. Unfortunately, there's also a trade-off. So if you go to a very high S setting, your image becomes a lot more darker. Now interestingly though, the reverse also happens. So if you go to a very low S setting, your camera will actually gather in a lot of light. And this is how photographers take those very iconic postcard-like pictures of the night sky, where you might see the cityscape illuminated with light and cars merging into like laser beams. All you have to do this is set a very low S setting, so perhaps 13 full seconds. If you do go out and try this, you're going to find that 13 seconds is a very long time to hold your camera steady. So unfortunately, this necessitates the need for a tripod, or my personal favorite, finding a random cement ledge to put your camera on. Of course, there are other settings you can also use to control the amount of light your camera receives, such as a very low A setting, which I'm going to talk to you about now. Good directors are able to control how they take videos. They pick what they want to focus on in movies and pick what they don't want to focus on in movies as well. And professional photographers can do the same thing with photos. Essentially, the secret to taking an awesome portrait, which I want you to remember what A stands for, is that you can blur out the background of unimportant details by using a very low A setting. What this does is draw a lot of attention to your actual focus target, say your person, and this makes very dramatic, effective portrait pictures. A very high A setting is most likely what you're already familiar with, whereas the typical landscape and everything is already in focus. So, now that you do know the secret of portraits, I'm going to share with you another secret. Photographers will spend a lot of their time in Photoshop. Fortunately, a lot of this is already automated for you. So for example, the merging images functionality is simply just file and merge images in Photoshop. This is very effective if you have multiple pictures of the exact same thing. So perhaps, say, a snowboarder flying through the air, and you can stack those images on top of each other. Or if you take different photos of the exact same thing, perhaps one's lighter and one's darker, Photoshop will be able to actually automatically merge these images together and form one very dynamic-looking picture. Effectively, you can receive lots of dramatic lighting effects or very dramatic shadows by automatically merging these pictures into one. So these are kind of advanced techniques though, so allow me to quickly repeat my more basic rules of thumb, in case you did miss them. Essentially, fast S to eliminate blur, low S to take pictures at night, a low A to draw a lot of emphasis to your target, and you can merge pictures in Photoshop. If you are motivated to learn more about this, I'm going to let you know that S actually stands for shutter speed, and is sometimes labeled TV. A actually stands for aperture, and merging images together is usually called HDR photography, or multiple exposures. So finally, to wrap up my presentation, I'm going to admit that I've actually only been doing photography for about 2 months, but to stress how easy it is to get into, I want to point out that I was actually able to provide all the sample pictures for this presentation. So if you do find yourself with a new camera, think of it as a blessing, because all you have to do is remember the settings.